Welcome to The Crunch with Crib. I'm Jess, and each episode I'll be talking with some of WA's best real estate agents and business people. Peter Zambotti started his career in real estate as a fresh-faced 18-year-old. Less than 2 years later, he followed Matt Podesta to Mont Property, and he hasn't looked back since. Selling in the prominent areas surrounding Applecross as an 18-year-old is no mean feat, and in this episode of The Crunch, Peter tells us how sheer tenacity got him through the early years of his career. Welcome to The Crunch.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for having me. We got here in the end.
We got here in the end after a couple of reschedules. Now, first things first, we've just been having a bit of a chat about this, but the way we always start our episodes, tell me how you got your start in real estate.
Yeah, interesting start. Always wanted to be in real estate. Had a few mates and their brothers were in it, and one day, there wasn't many jobs going for someone that just left school.
This was 2006?
Yeah, 2006. Finished in 2005, but there wasn't much going on. And anyway, my mate gave me a call and said, look, we've got a job for you. And I said, yep, cool, no worries. Where do I start? What am I doing? I was effectively going to be the driver for the principal who'd lost his license for drink driving. So
very nice.
Yeah, it was an interesting start. So my first 6 months I was just driving him around, listening, being stuck in the car. It was pre-internet on the phone. So
did he take you into his appointments, or did you have to wait in the car?
No, we were just in the car. We were just sitting there waiting. So it was a very interesting start. So we heard a lot of conversations on the phone, but it was it was an interesting time to start.
Yeah.
And then we slowly worked into being in the office a bit more and working for some of the senior agents that needed a bit of assistance back then. Yeah. At the tail end of the boom.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a busy time.
It was really busy. It was 2006 was the end of the boom. So we really I saw a lot what had happened, but it was kind of good that we started then because we got an understanding of what it could be like. But after that, it turned pretty quickly. And when we were agents in our own right, we always knew how hard it was because we weren't around in 03, 4, 5 when things were really sailing through.
Yeah. And do you think it's reached, did you ever get back there? You're still waiting for it to get back to that?
I don't think it'll ever get back to what I saw because, it was just an environment where anything would sell. It was always at overs. Everyone was making money. Now what we sell, you look at the sales board, everyone's losing money on their purchase price plus stamp duty, agents' fees, holding costs. It's a much different equation to back then in 2006 when really pre-internet, it was just the West advertising and cowboys.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone
Very
and
different
everyone.
time.
Beautiful. I want to come back to that, but I want to ask you, you've been referring to we. Tell me who the we is in that equation.
So obviously I've been there since it started.
So you and Matt Podesta, from the start, he was helping you drive licensee around?
We actually started at Acton for a couple of years, but when Matt decided to start his own, I actually got fired from Acton. Not because we didn't know what we were doing. We just would have been immature and we just used to back chat a bit. And the old lady said, look, Pete, you need to learn some lessons. I think you better go somewhere else. So I think it was actually one of the best things that ever happened. And in that period of me not having a job for a couple of weeks, Matthew decided to start his own.
Okay.
And I just happened to phone him and just see what he was doing because I wasn't up to much. And he said, look, I've started Mont. Do you want to come and join? And that was at the stage before the doors had opened. So I turned up and we've been there forever since, head down, bum up. So, Matthew and I have gone through a lot together, but it's his business. Since then it's been there and the team's growing.
Beautiful. So tell me about the business because obviously you've been there since the start. I wanted to ask about Mont because you guys there have a really specific aesthetic. You've got a very strong brand and everything, I guess the way you kind of position yourselves and want to be seen in the market is very, very strong. How much do you've been there from the start. How much do you have input over that, or are you very much selling real estate and Matt's kind of...
Yeah. Being quite a small hands-on team, we all have an input in how we want to be portrayed in the market, but Matt's quite good at positioning the brand how he wants it. We have input and we all decide which way to go and going certain ways and appealing to certain clients, but he does really take charge of that, and that's what he's really good at. I really focus on selling So we have a bit of input, but I leave that up to him because he really knows what he's doing. So I just can get on with selling.
Tell me about how long had you been in the industry when you started Mont or when you went to Mont?
18 months.
So looking back on that, and you wouldn't really hear about now, there's been, a few agencies go out and open their own brand in the last year, and they've all been fairly, I guess, experienced, have had at least 5 or so years in the industry.
Yeah.
Looking back at that, was that naive? I mean, you've obviously been super successful, but tell me about that kind of first couple of years.
It was really, well, I think ignorance is bliss. We didn't know a lot. I mean, I didn't. I think when I started Mont, started at Mont, I was 20 and Matt would have been 23. And
wow.
It was in Applecross. We were against like heavy hitting agents that had been there for 30 years that knew everyone, golf club, yacht club, kids at the private schools. And we were just these 2 young boys that turned up and we just didn't stop. So we just put our head down, out prospected, outworked. And then one person led to 2 and it was tough, but I think we took on the side of tech, which the more mature agents and established agents were a bit complacent. So we were a bit one step ahead, but we also outworked and just really, we had this motto that we would just keep going until we couldn't stop. And in a way, we didn't have kids and we didn't have, wives or anything that we had to really go back to. So we was just all in, which it sounds like a bit much, but we had no choice then. So paying off now.
Yeah.
But it
13 years later.
We didn't pick an easy area to crack.
Yeah.
But
that was my next question. Why Applecross?
South of the river, I mean, that's the flagship. You can sell from anywhere from there. It's really where all the agencies generally set up their business.
Yeah.
My core area is not Applecross. It's more the suburbs surrounding that, just in the price bracket where I tend to naturally get most of my stock. But it's such a beautiful place. Everyone wants to be there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And what are some of the objections? Like even now you guys in that area are probably maybe some of the younger agents in the area or, a more contemporary brand possibly. What are some of do you get objections in that regard? And I assume you did at the time. How did you kind of overcome that?
That we were
too young, too inexperienced.
That was the common thread, but age is no barrier. But people used to ring up. I mean, I used to door knock and this lady rang up the receptionist and said, "Oh, can you please not send anyone, this kid just looked like he just finished school knocking on my door." And anyway, whatever, I just keep going. But we'd get in a lot of doors, but we wouldn't win that many appraisals or we wouldn't win that many listings because, they would look at us like, who are these guys? Where did they come from? They don't have any runs on the board. But every now and then someone gives you a crack and they want to punt on someone that's really invested and can see they're keen. And, there are a few people out there that will roll the dice. Yeah. And those ones that did, really we did a good job for them. And then it snowballed from there. So, but it was... We were up against, we had no contacts. It was no experience in that pocket, plus really established agents. It was tough.
Yeah. Do you think that do you remember like a turning point where you went, yes, we've cracked it?
No, look, it's been a very slow build. But the harder the market's got, the better we've got because in the boom and in the better times, the market makes the agent look good. And now you've really got to put the deal together and, we'll have our best years. We're having our best years now in the hardest times, I think. The prices are always under what people have bought for unless the zoning's changed or something, abnormal's happened. But it hasn't really, arrived or like, look, we've, things are going really well, but it's just been a very slow build in that sort of 10 plus year. And now we've got an established track record, which we can, show and people resonate with that and think, okay, well, I don't have to ask 50 questions where these guys have come from and what have they sold.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really refreshing now.
What else has changed in those 10 years in terms of the way you have to operate?
Yeah, really good question. I think looking back from 2006, it was a very cowboy industry. Yeah. There was no transparency. There was no online reviews. There was no video. There was no sales stats that you could just go on the sold page of realestate.com. It was really just say whatever you want and most people would believe it, that old hoodwink style of real estate agent. Now it's so transparent and it's just massive trust and people can now see through video what the agent's like. they can go to your home. They could do that before, but now it's very trust-based. It's very hand-picked. Before, they would just ring the local agent on the landline and request an appraisal.
Yeah.
Now they're doing that digital interview.
They're doing everything first.
Checking out, your supplies, checking out your video, checking out your sold section, checking out your prices, days on market, and they'll research and they'll pick the agent they want rather than just ringing, 9364 668. Give me a sales rep, please.
Yeah. So tell me how social media fits into your marketing and video, because you guys obviously produce, and I'm probably thinking, of Matt's real flagship properties that he sells here, but you guys produce beautiful video, or we produce beautiful video for you.
Great job for us.
But you don't generally feature in them as an agent. Your social media for Mont is very much property based, not really agent based.
Yeah.
You, I don't believe, have really got a rep.
No.
Essentially social media presence. What's the kind of decision behind that, and how do you think about that when you also have to think about that transparency and the fact that everyone else is, everywhere?
It's finding the balance where the property is the hero, not the agent. And look, if you go through the stock, we are in a few of them, depending on the stock, but we see a lot of agents that are tend to think that it's a movie star and they're the main attraction, but the client's employing us to sell their house. They've got beautiful houses. Generally, that sells enough of they get the picture through there. I mean, I am in some of the videos, but I try and let the hero be the property. I mean, we're in the background. They will obviously come across us and meet us, but we're slowly building in that. We're just finding the line of, what's acceptable, what the client wants. And I think the higher end brands, the higher end stock, it's very based around the property and the seller, rather than the agent, and making them look like Superman. Just so we're quite mindful of that, not going too far. But I think the agent does have a very good, has an important role in the sale process, because people buy off people they like and they trust and they're transparent. So I really value the videos. I think they're a great, and Crib does a great job, and we're working towards being more in them, but it's selective on the property.
Yeah. Is that an ongoing discussion in the office about how things are changing? Because when I think about I guess agents, especially in those pockets of Perth, or, your really successful agents, most of them now are very, and even if it's only been in the last year, I mean, before we started recording, we were talking about Shane Beaumont, who's obviously very prolific, but they're very much all over social media. So is that something that you guys are always talking about? And, it's a different approach, I guess.
It is and as we were saying off air, Shane, one of my good mates, we had a chat that 2 years ago, and he wasn't on social media for real estate, and he said, "Pete, I'm going to do it. What do you reckon?" And we had this laugh, and we're like, you don't want to come across like a tool, but he does it very well now, and the keys is very real and raw, and people like that. He's not strutting around in a 3-piece suit, getting out of a S500. He's very real, very raw, and that's what buyers want. So,
but he also sells in an area that buyers want that, whereas you guys could probably strut around in whatever you wanted, and it's a different market.
I think buyers, and I think people, they don't really want to see that, because most people selling,
I agree,
in this market just are going through struggling. It's either unforeseen circumstances, it's financial issues, it's relationship, it's something where they don't want the agent ramming something down their throat that, hey, look at me, I'm taking your money. And so it's being very cautious of the situation and mindful and respectful. So I think it does play a huge part, social media, in moving forward, but we're just trying to find the balance of what works well for the client base that we work with. But every demographic, like Shane's market, super different. If we're selling a lot of units in a city, younger guys, I think that's a huge part in that. But when we're dealing with our average seller is generally retired, they're a little bit slower paced. They just want the service based. They're not too worried about 3-piece suits and
they're probably not on Instagram, are they?
They're more on Facebook. So, but look, I'm a massive believer in it, and we're working towards with Crib to go to the next level.
Yeah. So tell me then, and we're coming back to, I guess, Mont as a brand again, but you, you've been there for a really long time from the start. Is there an ambition for you to actually be part of the business, or do you just still have that passion for selling real estate and,
I'm a believer. I mean, I watch what Matt does running the business. He's probably not my forte. I'm a salesperson at heart. I've got Christy, who's my assistant. She does all the admin. I'm terrible at admin. One of those questions is, what are you good at and what are you not good at? Admin is just not my skill set. So I'm on the road. I'm talking to buyers and sellers and listing and negotiating.
Yeah.
Where I don't really want to get bogged down with running a business.
Yeah.
It's just not what I'm good at. So I'm just really doubling down on what I'm really good at and letting that run its course. So
okay, beautiful. Back to your buyers and sellers for the moment, because I've just been doing a little bit of research for our new show about the market, I guess, and whether it's up, is it down, is it, obviously we know, we all read the news. How are your how are you finding your market at the moment, and how are you having to, I guess, deal with your sellers? We've spoken about, they're probably, lots of them are in tough situations, dealing with lots of negative equity. How are you dealing with that? And
yep.
how have you seen it change, I guess, since 5 years ago?
I think 5 years ago, Jess, a lot of people were still having hopes of those boom time prices, but now everyone's had enough. They've seen enough news articles to realise that the market is what it is. It's a really bad time to be selling, but it's a great time to be buying. So if you're doing the same thing, it's okay. But yeah, if you look at the sales board and you see what people bought for and what people are selling for, it's 99% of the time they've lost money. So it's a really sensitive topic, but if you're real and you're honest and you're transparent and you're upfront, if people want to sell, it's about the process, not the promise on price. So we really sit down with them, and some of them we say, hey, look, don't sell, rent. We'll look at it in a couple of years, but we really analyse what they want and say, well, look, if you're selling in this market, this is where we need to be, and this is how we want to do it to maximise exposure and price. So yeah, it's not an easy conversation, but people want to be helped through they don't want to be told, overprice, overpromise and underdeliver. It's just be straight, be honest and be transparent, and that's really what we can bring to the table. Yeah.
And how are you finding your buyers at the moment?
It was harder with them before. I think now that the stock levels have dropped considerably, good stock's selling quite quickly.
Yeah.
The apartment market's totally different. The land market's going okay, but family homes are selling well if they're priced right because the stock's dropped, which is really refreshing.
Yeah. Tell me about, you mentioned the apartment market, and obviously we had the off-the-plan rebates for stamp duty rebates announced a couple of weeks ago. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, look, we don't have a lot of exposure to the apartment market just where City of Melville. I mean, there are a bit coming up, but it's not something that we get too involved in.
Can't really.
Hopefully that stimulates it, but I think there's going to be still a massively oversupply of apartments, and you just see what people are selling them for. 3 years later, it's just a massive loss. It's not a good situation to be in. So we actually try and avoid that market, to be honest.
Just stay with the establishment.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to sell or to list?
I prefer to list. I like the chase, but what we tend to do is become their agent before they need it. So most of the stuff that we list is from a relationship that we've built over a prospecting period of multiple years. So when they are ready to sell, we're not going in there and having to promise them this, tell them that, and do a handstand and look at me. It's more, okay, you've kept in touch, you've provided relevance over these years, and there's a level of trust. They've seen us in the marketplace. So I like that when people come back to us, it's like, yeah, great, that's payback for all those years. But yeah, selling, I think the house, selling's fun, but I like the thrill of the listing.
That's 100% of agents I've asked that question.
Yeah, right.
Tell me about your prospecting process.
Back in the day when you started and you're young and you had no money, you didn't know anyone, I used to use a roadmap. I wasn't from south of the river. I just had to figure it out.
Where were you from?
I was brought up in Mount Lawley, so totally different area. Yeah. I only really landed in south because obviously the guy lost his license and was based in South Perth. So that's how that started. But prospecting for me, I actually built my career on cold calls. I just used to ring all day, non-stop, landlines and mobiles, just day after day after day. And the guys used to look at me going, "What's wrong with you? Just give it up, mate." But we didn't have a huge marketing budgets because we were young. We didn't know anyone. Well, I didn't know anyone, so I thought, what's the hardest thing that no one wants to do? And that's either door knock and cold call.
Mm-hmm.
I looked very young, so I didn't want to door knock because I looked like, Jehovah's Witness or someone that just got out of high school. So
like
I thought,
the school safety. You're like,
yeah,
is this the safety
is something
house?
wrong with this guy? So I thought, I know how to talk. I'll just use that phone. So I would just call, and I'd make hundreds of calls a week and just leave voicemails and just keep going. And, someone would give you a crack. And over the years, we'll just keep in touch. And now it's the calls are coming in rather than going out. We still keep in touch with everyone, but it was very old school 101 real estate of cold calls. What
was the passion in real estate for you? Because as an 18-year-old kid, to sit on the phone and make cold calls to people who don't want to talk to you is a tough thing to do. Like there must have been, what was the driver for you?
The driver was I went to uni for 2 days and I thought, I can't do this. And I actually had no other options. I was good at sport, but, academic, I was okay. But I always knew I could sell and I could get people on my team, you know what I mean? So I really had no other option, to be honest. I sort of burned the boats, life rafts, and I said, look, I've got to make this work. And I wouldn't stop. I was like a dog with a bone. So I thought, all right, if I'm going to do it, I need a point of difference, and I've got to outwork these guys that have all these connections. My only avenue with limited resources was to pick up the phone and just say, hey, I'm Peter from Mont. Have you had any thoughts in selling? And no one wanted to sell because the market was so bad. But eventually, over 3 years, yep, okay, my daughter's finished uni. We're downsizing. Come and have a look.
Yeah, right.
Would lose most of the listings because I was so young, but over time it would build and build.
Over time you got older.
Yeah, I got older and, but you live and learn, but now I can look back and I'm glad I had to go through that pain to get what I am.
Yeah, yeah. So your motivation at 18 is there's no other options. What's your motivation 13 years later? What do you love about the job?
I really like helping people. I mean, and when they're selling now, it's based under stress. They're not selling because it's time to upgrade because their business is doing really well or they want to, buy a waterfront property. Every now and then you get one of those, but now it's how can we help? And I think we're really delivering on, there's a big difference between a good agent and a bad agent in terms of price, what you're going to get, but helping someone through such a stressful time in their life is very rewarding. I don't do it for the money. It's more just ticking that box saying, yeah, I actually made a difference. I actually helped and I charged a fee, but I gave value back. And that's when I go home, I think, yep, I've left everything on the table to help this person get out of that house and maximize their return. And that's really what, because if you do 50 sales, 60 sales, 100 sales, it's not about the dollar. It's about doing a good job. And then the referrals coming in. That's what makes me smile. Like now my phone rings and it's referrals. And that's just, you're inside, you go, great, thank you. I've done a good job.
Yeah.
So, that's what drives us now.
Yeah, beautiful. Tell me about what do you do to get better? You mentioned the digital interview before, which makes me think you're a Tom Panos fan.
I do like Tom. I listen to all of that. I'm a big believer of just being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds a bit corny and you've probably heard that 100 times, but I kind of enjoy the self-improvement and just getting better. I think real estate is like a job interview every day. You're pitching for business. You've got to be on your A game. If you're off and that other agent's that little bit more research, a little bit more keen, you got to miss it. So it's just being always sharp and on the ball and having fun with it.
Yeah. How do you think about your personal brand? We've talked about the Mont brand a fair amount.
Yeah.
We mentioned you don't have a huge social media presence in terms of like an agent presence. How do you think about your personal brand? How do you differentiate yourself? You said early days was just you're going to do the yards and work really hard. Is that kind of still your thing or?
Yes, but obviously doing about a deal a week and having quite a few listings, you're in the marketplace now. So it's now people that are coming in contact with you that can see what you're about, how you conduct your inspections, how you answer the phone, how you get back to people, just how you carry out your day-to-day business is my brand. So look, there are ways I'm looking at to take that to the next level and really expose it. But, that's building the team, which I'm slowly doing. Social media is a part of it, which we're looking to explode, but it's more just doing a good job one by one, day by day, and letting the referrals come in. I mean, we're quite heavy on our marketing in terms of a little bit of old school style in terms of the letterbox drops and sold
paper
flyers.
and
Because our market is quite a lot older.
Yeah.
They still use a letterbox.
Yeah.
I don't check mine, but they still love getting the flyers out of the mail and reading the Herald and all
Getting
that
their
sort
magnet,
of stuff. Yeah, and
getting their calendar.
Magnets will let go, but they still keep the flyers and the business cards and the handwritten letters. It's very 101 real estate. So but there's definitely room to grow with social media.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question for you just then and it's completely gone out of my mind. What were we talking about? Oh, that's what I was going to say. What are your non-negotiables? I spoke to Adam Nomofsky a couple of weeks ago and he said, look, I don't believe there's any excuse to not call someone back. Mm-hmm. That was his kind of non-negotiable.
Yep.
You obviously just mentioned your service. Are there any things in your business that is like an absolute?
Yeah, absolute must. I mean, communication's everything. When they're selling, they want to know what's going on. So if my phone rings and the vendor's ringing me, I'm like, oh no, what have I done? Have I left the lights on or something? So I'm always on the front foot so they don't have to call. So really communication, super transparent, just so they know exactly where it's at. And just doing what you say you're going to do, because a lot of people go to these listing presentations, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and overpromise, and then none of it gets delivered. And 3 weeks in, they're feeling like, well, hang on, I just got sold up the river here. So it's just dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and just being meticulous with everything, because the guys that we're helping sell are generally very well educated, know what they want, and have been around the block many times. So you slip up, you'll get found out pretty quickly.
They're going to know about it.
Yep.
Tell me, who do you think's doing things well in Perth at the moment?
Yeah.
Agent-wise,
look, there's a few that we sort of keep our eyes on. I mean, obviously Shane is one of my very good mates. We catch up and chat. I keep an eye on, the guys western suburbs. I think Daniel Gonzalez is doing a really good job. I like his brand and energy. I kind of keep a finger on the pulse. I think those two are really doing very well. We keep a close eye on them and check in, but we don't have a hell of a lot of time to really
keep
go on
the
sold section of realestate.com and just
see what's going on.
Yeah, head down, bum up. Just worry about what you're doing and just do a good job. And just stay humble. Remember where how it all happened, and just do a good job.
What do you do on those days when you've just had an absolute shit of a day?
Yeah.
Because they obviously happen often.
Yep.
I'm assuming in this market.
You have some tough days.
How do you push through?
Oh, good question. I just ring my mates. I surround myself with people that are having a better day so I can rub off on their energy. But there's nothing, I don't have any magic bullet. I might go for a swim or a walk or just ring one of my mates. I always ring Shane and say, hey, what's going on? And then he'll tell me his problems and just bounce off your colleagues. It's a very emotional game, just with the highs and lows. So you've got to have a very calm, balanced energy. Otherwise you will fracture and it's not a good place to be. So just keeping everything in check is a hard thing to do. But just doing a few basic things that bring you back down to earth.
Beautiful. Last question for you, Peter.
Yep.
You've mentioned you're kind of growing your team. What are your big goals for 2020? We're nearly into a new decade. Keep telling everyone in the office.
2020.
2020.
So I've just put on Christy, who's I actually didn't have an assistant for all those years, which has probably held me back. I mean, I was doing 50 plus sales a year on my own with no help, which I was pulling my hair out. Things were starting to fall away. So I've put on Christy. She does all my back end, which keeps me organised. So that's keeping me a lot more balanced, and I'm not frazzled, so I can really do it. Yeah, no, she's been awesome.
Yeah.
And she's got a really calm energy. She's a mum, so she's
keeps
the
you in
perfect
check.
yin to yang. But look, numbers wise, I mean, you've got the targets to hit, but.
Are you looking to add to the team or, anything like that?
Eventually you'll look at a buyer's agent, but I haven't looked too far. I just make sure that I nail the day, really. I don't look too far ahead.
Yeah.
I just...
I'm
not a planner.
planner.
I'm just get up and just make sure that every patience and persistence is my motto. Just one day at a time, but nail it. So when I go to bed, there's nothing left, and I've just ticked the box and repeat.
Giving it everything you can.
It's a simple job, but it's just all in.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in, Peter.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. and what lessons they've learned on their journey to success. That's it for this episode. We'd love any feedback or guest suggestions. So